Woo! Yo, what is going on, guys? It has been a long time, about 4 weeks, not quite 4 weeks, but close to it, since the last video went up. And that is because this last month has just been absolutely crazy. As some of you guys may know, I moved out of my old place, out of the old garage, and that was a huge ordeal. I've been living there for 10 years, so it took a long time for me to get everything packed up, and you know, it was a huge thing. I just didn't have any time to get any videos in, and I was transporting the Z, and it was just no good for making videos. So I'm back though. I am kind of moved completely at this point. Actually, my wife and I are renting a new house, but it's not ready yet, so we're actually staying with some friends currently. Just kind of waiting for the new house to get ready, and in a week or two it should be good to go, and then we'll be moving in over there. And then the videos should start resuming at their normal pace, or you know, at least quicker than they have. So anyways, I am back here with some updates for the Z for you guys. It has actually changed a little bit since you guys last saw it. Well, maybe not that much. The Widebody kit was completed. It's still not painted yet, but I'm on track to having it painted within the next 2 or 3 weeks. And I have a bunch of other little surprises and other goodies that I'm going to be showing you guys in this video. This video is actually going to be primarily about the interior upgrades that I'm now moving into with the Z. I'm very excited because the interior is just as important as the exterior for me. So as much as I wanted the exterior of the car and the Widebody to look on point, I definitely wanted the interior to look good too. And it took me a little while to decide exactly what direction I wanted to go with the interior, but I have decided at this point, at least on most of it, and I'm very happy to show you guys what I've got. So as you might have seen in the little teaser at the beginning of the video, I picked up a bride seat, a single seat right now for the driver's side. My car is a Grand Touring with leather seats. It's already got really nice seats in it, and I'm going to go ahead and leave the passenger seat alone for right now so that my wife is nice and comfortable. It's heated, it's powered, and it has the airbag and everything, and all the safety features still intact. So I am not going to replace that seat with a bucket seat right now, or a racing seat, whatever you want to call it. And I'm just going to run the driver's seat with the new seat. So I'm very excited to get that installed. It's not going to be in this video, and I'm not going to reveal exactly what the seat is, the color and all that just yet. That will be for another video, but it will be in the interior series. So stay tuned for that. I also got the Sparco steering wheel that you may have seen. It's a Sparco L777 leather wrapped, very nice high quality wheel, super sturdy, not cheap. It's not going to break. I wanted to make sure I didn't spare any expense when it came to a steering wheel, something that you're going to be holding on to while you're driving the car, so I went with the highest quality that I could, or close to it anyways. So I went with the Sparco L777, and it's also really nice because it matches the color theme of my Z really quite well. It's nice black with the silver accents. You'll get a better look at it later. Again, that's not going to be in this video. That will be in another video of the interior installation stuff, but you will get a good look at the steering wheel. I also picked up an NRG short hub and quick release. It's a 2.5 quick release system. Could have gone with the 3, but I decided to go with the 2.5 because I thought the exaggerated paddle release things on the version 3.0 were a little bit too much for my taste, so I went with the 2.5, and I'm very satisfied with it. And again, you will get a better look at that in another video. This video, however, is going to be primarily focusing on the new head unit that I have going into the Z. And it is a Pioneer system. It's an AVH-X 490BS. It's a DVD, CD, Bluetooth, basically the works. It's probably got a newer model at this point, but it's definitely one of their newer systems. It was kind of mid-2017 model, and it's a really nice full-featured head unit, doubled in, of course, 7-inch screen, full motorized, and I'm putting that into the Z, replacing the old Bose head unit that I had in my Z. It worked well for a while, and I was satisfied with it, but it just recently crapped out on me, and I was planning on replacing it anyways, so getting rid of that guy altogether. Now, I have gone ahead and done basically half the installation on it already, and I'm going to be taking you into the Z, and we're going to be wrapping up the installation on camera here so you guys can see. Now, there is a ton of videos on YouTube with the instructions on how to remove the center console in the Z, both on the earlier models and on the later models, the 2006 to 2009 Zs. So I'm not going to go into too much detail as far as how to deconstruct the center console to get to the head unit itself. Basically what I'm going to be covering in this video is how I did the wiring, or how I had the wiring done I should say, and just a basic overview of the head unit itself if you're planning on picking up a Pioneer unit that is similar to it. So hope you guys get something out of this video. I'm sorry it's not more of an in-depth installation thing, but with the way things have been going, I just haven't had time to whip the camera out. I kind of had to do a bunch of things and it just didn't have time to get the camera out and document every single thing. But I am turning it on now to show you guys before I get it all buttoned back up again. I'm going to give you a good idea of what it looks like in its current condition, and we will go from there. Hopefully you guys will get a pretty good idea. A lot of it is very self-explanatory, especially taking apart the console and all that. It's just making sure you got all your screws. I'll go over how many I had to take out, and then I will show you probably the most important part that everybody has so many questions on, and that's the wiring. You can do it a number of different ways, and there's tons of different accessories that you can add if you want and all that. So I'll show you guys what I'm running, and we'll go from there. And like I said, hopefully you guys get a good amount of information. This is not so much going to be a how to install a head unit. I know I probably said that I was going to do a full in-depth head unit installation video before. That was my initial intention, but it just didn't work out that way. But I'm not leaving you guys high and dry. I'm going to show you before it's all done and it's still out of the car. I'm going to show you what it looks like. Alright, so let's go outside and take a look at the Z. I think this will be the first video that you guys have actually seen the Z with the full wide body on and everything. If you're keeping up with me on Instagram, you've definitely seen the car at this point, and I've gotten out to a couple of local car shows, or car meets I should say, and so a few guys in the local area here in NorCal have seen the car, and the reception has been absolutely tremendous. You guys are awesome. I'm so glad you like the car. It is going to get even better, so stay tuned for that. I'm going to be trying to make Stance Nation this year in March, I believe. It's going to be in San Francisco, and hopefully I'm going to have the car all together. If I'm able to get paint on the car by that time, I'm going to try and get into Stance Nation. If not, that's okay. There's plenty of more shows to come, but anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for the positive reception of the car. I'm so glad you guys like it. I couldn't be happier with the result, with the turnout of the wide body kit, so thank you guys very much, and stay tuned for much more. I'm actually still going to be building a few more little accessory canards and stuff like that just to spice it up a little bit more, but for the most part the kit is it's very nice. It's just where I like it. So let's go out and take a look at the car and we'll go from there. Alright, we are heading outside now. Huge shout out to my friends that are allowing my wife and I to stay here right now for a couple of weeks while we're waiting on that new house. So huge shout out to them. We're out here with the car now. I'm looking at it currently. It is looking clean, guys. You guys want to see it? I'm sure you guys want to see it. Alright, you can see it. Alright, so if you are one of those who have not seen the car on Instagram or in person yet, there it is. I hope you guys like it. You will get a whole lot better look at it as the project commences. It will have paint on it, like I said, within 2 or 3 weeks or so, hopefully, crossing my fingers on that. And it will look even better. But I am so happy with the result of the wide body. I think it looks amazing, truly one of a kind. There is no other Z with this wide body. It is one of one in the world. You guys that have been following me, you know how much work it took to get this thing done, and yeah, it was a lot of work, but it was so worth it. I'm so happy with it, and I would do it all over again, to be completely honest. Knowing that it would turn out this nice, I would do it all over again, even though it was incredibly difficult. So I hope you guys like it. The front end is absolutely menacing on this thing, as you can see. I mean, point me to another Z, Z33 anyways, that looks that aggressive, and yeah, I'd like to see it because that's super aggressive. I just love it. I love it. It looks like it's just going to reach right out and bite you. The side profile, the front quarter profile just looks amazing. Absolutely love the way that this whole kit turned out. It's so nice and tight, and it fits together very nicely in my opinion. Flows really good with our custom side skirts that we made too. So, and just the choice of wheels, just the Meister M1s, everything just came together just the way I wanted it. So I'm so happy with this car. The wide body kit is holding up extremely well. I'm not having too many issues whatsoever with rubbing or anything. It's actually going really good. I'm very happy. I had to make a few minor adjustments to the front portion here. Let me show you. So right here in the front, you can see, if you were keeping track of the way it was designed previously, this actually came out here a little bit more back, but it was actually way too far back, and the tire was rubbing really bad on that. So I ended up having to trim that down, but it did not detract from the look of the over fender at all. It looks actually really good. I like it just as much as it was the other way, but I actually had to come in here and cut some of this bumper off too, because the tire was rubbing really bad as it turned outward right here. Had to trim off a little bit of this winglet right here as well. Had to take that down a little bit, but it does not detract from the look whatsoever. Still looks amazing, and I get no rubbing whatsoever. The only place I do get a little bit of rubbing in is back here, where it rubs up against the factory fender liner in the back, but it's just barely. It barely rubs when I turn outward. The tire comes in and rubs a little bit inside there, but no big deal. For the most part, this entire kit is really nice, and it fits very well. There's no rubbing in the back whatsoever. I don't have any issues with the back. Let's see, anything else I can think of? I've got a couple of little stress cracks that have showed up. There's a little stress crack right here and one right there that I'm gonna need to address. My body guy is gonna probably take care of those when he does the paint. And other than that, I don't even have any stress cracks in the front. I haven't had anything crazy happen. The kit was designed on a bagged car, and while you probably could run the kit static, it was designed on a car with bags. So just keep that in mind if I do get around to making the molds, which I will. Just give me time on that, guys. It's gonna take a little bit of time. The car's looking dope. Absolutely sick. I'm loving it. Loving it. So like I said, I'm gonna still do a couple of other little things. I'm gonna make some canards. I'm gonna do like kind of like on the Redux Supra kit, how there's like a little aluminum canard thing. It's not really a canard, but it's I don't even know what to call it. It's something that sits like right about here. But I'm gonna make a canard that attaches from right here. It's gonna come down, and it's gonna fit something like this. Not gonna be too big, too gaudy. I'm gonna do the same thing right here in the back. I'm gonna make a brand new winglet. It's gonna come up and attach right there. And I'm also going to be modifying the rear end as well. Right about here, I'm going to make an attachment point to something that comes in right about here. So that's at least my first idea. All that's subject to change, but I am definitely going to do a few more things with this after I get moved into my new garage. It's not going to be for probably a few weeks, you know, maybe even a month. But there are going to be some new things coming on this kit. But as for right now, I am 100% satisfied with everything, with the way it looks fantastic. Alright, so let's go in the car now and I will show you where I'm at with the head unit installed. Alright, we are inside the car now into my my mad scientist lab here. You can see my mess that I've made. As I said, we are pretty much halfway into the installation of this. I know I said that I was going to do a full installation video, and that didn't happen, so I do apologize about that, but I'm going to show you guys everything that I've done before we tighten everything back up and get everything completely installed, namely the wiring. So that's the big thing that everybody wants to know about, is the wiring. Alright, so here's the head unit itself, obviously, 7-inch screen. This is Pioneer AVH-X 490BS. Very nice head unit. Now, I've already got all of this detached. This is all loose. I still do have the connector in there that I need to detach from the triple gauge pod cluster there, and then I have the harness hooked up to the back of the head unit right there. I will disconnect that and show you guys. I'm going to pull out all the wiring and show you my situation that I have going on. I also, of course, have all this trim removed right there. You have to take off the shift knob and then just kind of pull up on it and pull that out, and then get all the screws to take this whole section out. It pretty much just comes out. There's a total of, I want to say, let's see, there's 4, 5, 6 or 7 bolts that you got to take out of this whole entire assembly right here in order to get this out. Other than that, it's just pretty much clips, and probably the most annoying thing is getting all these wire connectors out. Those can be very annoying, so you need to have some kind of a tool that is a pick type of thing like this. This has been my tool that I've used to get all of the wire connectors out and stuff, because they all have a little locking mechanism that you have to press down, and you cannot do that with your fingers. You need something like that with a little point on it, so that's going to go a long way in your process of doing this. Make sure you have a little pick tool. Other than that, you're just going to need a Phillips screwdriver. Get a long one, something like this, with a longer end on it so that you can reach in. There's a couple of deep screws. It would also benefit you to have a magnetized tip, because those screws in there will have a tendency to want to fall. Yeah, you just don't want to create more work if you don't have to. So I should probably point out that my car does have the factory navigation in there, so that does make it a little bit different than most of the Z's out there with just the cubby. With the factory navigation, it's pretty much the same thing. The actual screws in here that you have to take out are in the same place, but instead of just the rubber mat and the 2 little plastic caps that are usually over the cubby slot, it has the control panel for the navigation, which looks like this. Now, this thing just pops out of there, and there is one connector in the back, obviously, for the controls. You do have to be very careful because this material scratches extremely easily. I put a couple of really good gashes in there as I was trying to take this out. I will probably end up repainting this thing. I don't have the means or the time to do it right now, so I'm not going to worry about it, but this does pop out. It sits something about like right there. You got to pop that out in order to get to the bolts in the back, and there's a top panel that looks like this that's sitting right up against the screen like that, and then it sits, this thing sits just below it. So the assembly is kind of like that, and so you got to pop this panel off, and then there's 2 screws. There's a screw right there and a screw right there that you got to take off that hook into the back of the center console right here. Take those 2 screws out, and then this whole thing right here should pop out, which gives you access to those 2 screws under there. I couldn't find any other video on YouTube of somebody taking this apart with the navigation, so that's how you do it. You got to take off that little top piece first to expose the screws. Just be very careful with it not to scratch it. Use a plastic pry tool like this. This is specifically designed for removing car panels and stuff like that, so carefully pop that out, and then get those 2 screws on the top, take that out, and then get those 2 screws right there. If you don't have the factory navigation, disregard everything I just said. It's very simple. You just open up that cubby, you take off the rubber mat, there's 2 plastic caps on the side, take those out, and you'll see the Phillips screws. Put the screwdriver in there and just take those screws out. Simple as that. If you do have navigation, do what I just said. Alright guys, so here we have the harness that is all wired up already, and I'm going to kind of go over what's going on here. Now, my car came with the factory Bose head unit, and there's a little bit of a different thing that you need to do if you plan on maintaining your Bose speakers and your factory amplifier as opposed to just running a regular harness in there. And if you're changing all the speakers and you're changing the amplifier, you're not going to need to worry about it. It's pretty much just a straightforward stereo install, but for the Bose head unit, because I am planning on maintaining my Bose speakers and the amplifier, there's nothing wrong with them. I went ahead and got this interface right here. This is the PAC ROEM NIS2. This is specifically designed to interface with the factory Bose head unit. It will connect the factory Bose system rather. It will connect the new head unit with the speakers and everything and the amplifier from Bose. So you will need this if you have the factory Bose, if you're not replacing the entire system. Okay, so this is just the interface that will replace the typical harness that you would need. This right here, this guy right here, this is the harness that came with the head unit itself. This is a very typical type of harness that you get with many Pioneer head units. It's a fairly self-explanatory process of connecting this harness together. You have the two connectors right back here. There's actually four, but you only use two of the connectors that you took out of your factory head unit right here. You'll be hooking those two up to these two right here on one end of the interface. That's this end right here by these indicator lights. Those just plug and play right up into those top two connectors right there. On this end, this is where all the wiring had to be done. You can see I'm still hooked up to ground there. It's pretty much just matching color for color here. You're going to take one color from this side and match it up to the color on the other side. Now there is stripes as well, so you want to make sure that you're matching solid to solid and stripe to stripe with these. And without going into too much detail, these different stripes and different solids indicate the different speakers and the amplifier wires and all that. They all have a different purpose. If you really want to know what they all do, there are wiring diagrams online that you can check out, and you can get each specific wire and what it does to really learn more about it. But for the most part, when you're doing this, you're going to be wiring up solid to solid, stripe to stripe, matching the colors as much as possible. Now, one thing to keep in mind is these head units with the full functionality like the DVD and any kind of video playback at all, they will have a e-brake. One of these will be labeled e-brake, and it's meant to be tapped into your e-brake sensor so that the car knows when your car is rolling. It will lock out any kind of video playback at all. If you don't want that, then you have to bypass that, and there's a couple of different ways to do that, but the way that I did it is I went ahead and picked up a micro bypass. It's this little guy right here. Hopefully you can see that. And what this does right here is this bypasses that lockout feature. It is illegal to have this in there, but you know, hey, I definitely want my wife to be able to enjoy a DVD or something if we're taking a long trip and I'm driving. I want her to be able to watch the screen and enjoy a movie or something while we're rolling. Of course, be safe with this. It goes without saying. Don't be watching a movie while you're trying to drive if you're going to bypass it, but this is how I chose to do it. And the bypass is very simple. You're just going to tap. It has a green, a black, and a blue, and you're going to tap the green into the green. Into that wire, that parking brake wire that I was talking about. You're just going to tap the green into there. The blue is going to go into the blue with the white stripe, which is remote control. Not like this kind of remote control, but it's a remote control that tells the head unit what's going on. And then the black, of course, is ground. You're just going to tap the black into your black ground wire, and then everything needs to be ground up into a bare metal spot up in here behind the dash. And so it's very simple. You just tap that in, and you don't have to worry about that lockout anymore. It will bypass that completely. And then a couple of other things to consider is accessories. If you want to wire in like a backup camera or anything like that, you can wire up a backup camera into your ignition source, and that should be just fine. Most of them that you get on eBay or Amazon, they'll have a little wire that you can just wire up into your ignition source, which is the red wire typically. And then it also will have a little RCA jack that will go into your camera in on the back of your head unit. Other than that though, the wiring is fairly simple. There's a couple of different ways you can do it. You can solder it or use butt connectors like this. Do it the way you want. Make sure if you're not using any of these wires, if you don't need them, that you're terminating the ends of them so that there's no loose metal or anything. And this is pretty much what you're going for. You know, this end goes into the back of the head unit. It's all wired up. I got my bypass in there, and then those two go back to the factory connectors, and then just make sure you got your ground to bare metal. In this case, I'm using one of the screws that I was just describing before, one of those two screws that goes back there that will fasten on this whole waterfall section right here. And there's bare metal back there. It's plastic on the top, but the back part is bare metal, so I was able to ground right there and it works just fine. So that's pretty much what's going on with the wiring here. It looks complicated, but it's really not. Just match up color for color, solid for solid, stripe for stripe, like I was saying, and do a really good job with your soldering if you choose to solder, or make sure you got your crimp connectors here really nicely fastened. Don't go lax on this. Get it tied up nice and tidy. You don't want just loose wires and a whole bomb of a mess back there. Get it tightened up pretty good. So besides the wire harness, there's a couple of other connections that we're making back here in the back. This head unit does feature a USB connection so that you can hook your phone up directly to it through USB. This is the side that goes into the back of the head unit, and I went ahead and just wired it back down underneath here and then came along the side of the shifter here, and there's a little hole that comes in right through here that comes up right into this primary cup holder right here. You have to take off this little cap that's right here. It comes off very easily. You can just get a little flathead screwdriver or even your fingernails if you got long enough nails. Get in there and take that little cap off, and then this thing you can just fish up right through that little hole right there. And what I'm going to end up doing is cutting a little hole in that cap so that this comes up through the bottom of that cap there, so I can lay this this over the top. Also to note here is this is where you can tighten up your resistance for your e-brake. If you feel like your e-brake is really loose, it's loosened up, this is where you can tighten it up. It's just a 10 millimeter. You're going to need a long socket to get in there, and you can tighten that up if you need. Just a little side note. Besides the USB, I'm also running the Bluetooth mic. You can see I've installed my Bluetooth mic right up here in the corner, down in through this pillar here, which pulls out very easily. There's no screws or anything, it just pulls right out. So pull it out from here, and then pull it out this way, and it should come right out for you. Just wired that straight down through here, through the dash, down underneath, and it's tucked up through the side of the center console right here. Comes out in here, out to a little jack that looks just like that. That's for my Bluetooth mic for making hands-free calls. I am also going to be doing a backup camera on this Z. I have it all wired up through the front, and it's run, the actual RCA line is run straight through to the back. I don't have it wired up in the back yet. There's still a little bit of stuff that you got to do in the back, which I will cover in a different video, but I do have the camera in line already wired up. You can see this is for my backup camera, and like I said, it is run all the way to the back, but I'm not wiring it up in the back just yet. Of course, you got your antenna. That's this right here. This is factory in the car, so you will have this. Make sure you plug that in. I removed my antenna in the back to install my Widebody kit. My flares in the back, so I don't really get radio very much at all, but I will plug this in because I do get a channel or two even without the antenna. But I'm not going to be doing radio very much in this car, I'll tell you. Other than that, that's about it. There are other things that you can do depending on how advanced you're getting or how many accessories you're adding. There's always more things that you can add to it, but that's what I'm running. The Bluetooth speaker, the USB cable for direct connection with your phone, and the backup camera RCA jack right there. I've got the bezel already. I should have probably pointed this out earlier. This bezel right here does not come on the car from the factory. You do need to buy that yourself. This one in particular is one from Scosche, and they make vehicle specific bezels, so this is a very nice tidy one. As you can see, it fits in there very well. There's a tiny little bit of a gap right on the top there and a little bit of a gap underneath, but nothing significant whatsoever. And if you really wanted to get fancy with it, you can put some LED lights back there or something and make it, you know, green or blue or whatever, shine through there to make it look even cooler. I'm not going to be doing all that because it really doesn't bother me very much. So it's a nice tidy bezel, and you can't go wrong with Scosche. There are some other companies that make other ones as well, but make sure you're getting the one for your specific Z. I know that they changed a little bit over the years. I can't be exactly specific. I don't know exactly how they changed, but I do know that there are some slight modifications. So just make sure you get the one that's correct for your Z so that your head unit doesn't look all completely trashy in there. You don't want any huge gaps or anything. Get yourself a nice little bezel, and you'll be solid. All right, so let's get all of this connected back in. I will rehook all this up and see if we can get this head unit pumping out some tunes. Alright guys, we've got the whole entire assembly now put back together. Everything looks really nice and tidy with the exception of a couple of the little scuffs that I was talking about before that I put in here trying to get this top cap off. But this is what it looks like, at least if you have the factory navigation. It's going to look like this. You got to take this off right here, which will expose the 2 screws underneath. Get those 2 screws out and then this will just pop right out. Make sure you do that before you start trying to pry this whole thing off, or it's going to be all bad. You'll be breaking tabs and stuff in there and you don't want to do that. So now that we're all fully assembled, I'm going to go ahead and put the key in the ignition and give it some power, some juice, and see if this thing pops on. I have no doubt that it will. Everything was hooked into the proper positions. Alright, and there it is. We have power to the head unit. That's a good thing. Definitely a good first indicator. Now, I have already set this up with my phone. It's already hooked up via Bluetooth to my phone. So I have my Galaxy S8 Plus here, and I can do a little audio test here to make sure everything is firing correctly, and I have power to all of the speakers. Let me just get a little piece of music or something here. See if I can avoid any kind of copyright though. Alright, we have sound to all speakers. Bass sounds great, subwoofer's working. Everything sounds awesome. I have access to all my settings. All the buttons on the face work really well. Volume. Can change all my settings. I have really nice EQ settings. There's many different options. So you can do custom. You got 2 custom presets here, or they have several different presets that you can choose. So very nice setup here. Can't go wrong with Pioneer, you know. Not to knock on any other brand, but Pioneer is just the way to go. I have the illumination set up so that these rear button, or these lower buttons here, change colors. They go through the color spectrum, so it's awesome. Also have a little animated background back there. You can also set an image of your choice to the background if you choose. So I'm super happy. Everything is working well. It's also a DVD player as well, so we can pop this open and watch DVDs if we want. So everything is all set up here with the head unit. I'm very happy. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comment section below. I'm not a professional installer, but I'd be more than happy to attempt to answer any questions that I can, and be happy to help you guys. Next up, we're going to be doing a steering wheel install. I'll be installing that new Sparco L777 steering wheel in here, along with the NRG short hub and quick release. I'm also going to be putting in my bride seat as well. It is a Zeta 3 Type L full bucket seat, so I'm very, very excited about that. The interior videos will continue, guys. Stay tuned for those. Thanks for watching. I will see you soon. Peace.